Last year I reviewed Gran Turismo 7 for the PlayStation 5. And now, 1 year later, the VR version of the game has been released as a free update for owners of the game and the PlayStation VR2 headset. All of the things I said about the game in my original long review still stands. And compared to the VR mode in GT Sport, the whole game of GT7 is playable in VR. The gameplay you're about to see are captured from the PS5's social screen while playing, and does not represent the exact feeling you get from inside the VR headset. I have played the updated game a lot after getting the VR2, and this is my review for the Gran Turismo 7 VR mode for PlayStation 5. The first time you put on the headset and walk around the car, then getting inside the cockpit and watching all the details of the knobs, dials and the interior, you can really appreciate all the hard work that Polyphony Digital have done to make GT7 feel even more real in VR. The menus are sadly on a floating screen inside your headset. But after the swoop by the car before the race, you are taken into the cockpit of the car and with the headset's full 110-degree field of view. Turning your head to the left or right gets you a sense of the surroundings, like you are in a real car. And I immediately started to look out the side windows, into corners, and in the mirrors when racing just like I do in a real car. The racing and street tracks also feel more real than ever before. The steep bend in Laguna Seca and the curves of Daytona suddenly feel gigantic and imposing, just like they do in real life. I'm now able to judge the curves and the position of my rivals better than from the cockpit view or behind the car in 2D. I will probably never be able to race on these tracks or in most of the expensive cars in real life, so GT7 in VR and with a racing wheel are the closest I will get. To control the game you can either use the DualSense controller or a supported racing wheel. The VR2 Sense controllers does not work with the game. If you at any point take off your headset while in VR, the game switches back to normal 2D mode on the TV. There is also a VR replay system for you to test out. It puts you on the track itself as a static camera, and you can use your head movement to control where the camera looks. The camera will automatically transport you to the next camera point on the track, which I think feels a little jarring and confusing at first. I would have liked more if the player could go to the next camera point by himself by clicking a button. For every car in the game you are able to take a look around and inside the cars in the VR showroom before buying them. Jumping into your own garage, you can do a more expansive showroom and take one of your cars to a wider numbers of locations and play with the lighting and options. You can get all kinds of up-close angles of your own vehicles and really appreciate the HDR 4K details. The headset feedback is also put to good use in GT7 with VR2. If you go off track and crash into a wall, you feel a small rumbling in the headset giving you more immersion. And also the weight and feel of the headset mimics a little bit how it feels to have a driving helmet on. The flat screen version of GT7 looked amazing with native 4K resolution, high frame rates, and a good use of ray tracing only in the replays. The graphics in VR are a little bit downgraded, but when you focus on the racing, you will not be able to spot many of the details that have been downgraded. Small things like the grass density takes a hit. There are a little bit more visible pop-ins, the rain density is not as massive as in the 2D version, motion blur is disabled, and some of the lighting is a little bit different on how the shadows are handled. You can see the foveated rendering happening in some parts of this gameplay, where some part of the picture is blurred or has lower resolution. This is to keep the rest of the game running smoothly, and only render the stuff you are watching in high detail. This is also a perfect example on how the eye tracking works in the headset. The headset does support HDR, even though you won't be able to see it in this video, so as an example, the headlights of your rivals really blinds you when they drive past you at night. The sound of GT7 was already amazing, and if you had a pair of good headphones or surround system connected to your PS5, the sound realness from the cars were extremely good. The included earbuds with the VR2 headset works good enough, but you will really benefit from using a better headset to get the full 3D audio effect. With the headset and a pair of good headphones, the inside sound of the car really got me feeling like I'm driving the real version. I really felt like James Bond when hearing the 3D sounds from my favorite car of all time, the Aston Martin DB5, as well as seeing the oversized wooden wheel in front of me. With many patches and updates since my original GT7 review last year, and now also the PSVR2 support, I can truly say that GT7 is a system seller for the VR2. It plays even better and is more immersive in VR. It still looks amazing and sounds great. The errors from the flat screen version, with microtransactions and small race payouts, is still there, and it's a little bit disappointing that the menus inside the headset are in 2D. But these are minor issues and nothing that stops it from being a game that everyone who buys a PSVR2 headset should experience in VR.